The franchise recap is on to season 30, meant for only the most conniving of players, Dirty 30. Airing July to November 2017, this season saw 31 cast members head to Colombia, then Argentina for 19 episodes of backstabbing gameplay for their share of a whopping $1 million. A bunch of evolutions with this big round numbered 30th season of the show. The first, I had already said, $1 million cash prize. We really upped the ante here and went all the way to the full $1 million. The second was one that backfired quite poorly for them. Winners were revealed at the reunion, a two-part reunion. So I said 19 episodes, it was 17 plus a two-part reunion. You had to watch both because the winners were finally revealed at the second. Obviously, one of the winners, Camilla, was not there after she maybe shouldn't have been there the rest of the season to win to begin with. Ammo was our first non-binary player. That was another evolution for the show. The double cross was a new twist on the draw. We had seen that before, but not this version, this way, where the person who pulled the winning one gets to make a selection. Hadn't seen that before. And then we had a redemption house, but this one, unlike the ones of the past, you got to go to multiple times, and there was multiple re-entry points. So all kinds of new things going on with the 30th season. From a storyline perspective, let's talk cast first. The cast always is as important as anything, probably the most important thing, but especially for the 30th season, they brought 30 people, eventually 31 because of an initial person leaving, and that really matters. You got to have the heaviest of hitters, and they do a really good job. It's a really strong cast. There's a few flops that I think, even in the moment, we maybe should have kind of known. Derek, Brianna, Simone, Ammo, although Ammo has they have a couple great eliminations, so take them off. But Derek, Brianna, Simone, I see why the potential was there, but they flop, and it kind of makes sense in retrospect. But overall, for 30-person cast, they do a really, really good job. The main big cast-related storyline here is the Young Bucks truly coming for the OGs in this one. It had started the seasons prior, but this one is all out. Corey's making the comments. I've got a hit list. It's CT, Bananas, Derek, boom, 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 and boom, boom, boom. The Young Bucks get eliminated before any of the three of them do, one by DQ. And Nelson is the one that has the chance. He has a chance to actually take a shot at one of them, pulls the double cross the first time he's in it, and decides to throw in Tony instead. So they don't even take the shots they get. And then Nelson, of course, does take his only actual shot at that trio of OGs by physically taking a shot at Derek and getting himself DQ'd. There's a lot of female alliances and rivalries, either in formation here or just fully on display in the moment. We have Anissa and Veronica's, history being brought back up from the past, romantic history from the past. We have Marie and Cara on a team, very near future, rivals here coming up in the next seasons. Amanda and Ashley are here briefly. Ashley's there briefly, but for a moment, the two of them are there, and Jenna and Kayla are there, two sides of that little rivalry. And then Tori is there with a bunch of people who eventually she would either have alliances or rivalries or best friends or enemies or both with in the future. And then similar to 40 now, season 40 now, this cast is missing a couple obvious people, and the main one is Wes. Just like season 40, the only one really missing is Wes. That really, 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 really matters. That it would be nice to have him there because we would get the full showdown of Bananas, CT, Wes, and Jordan all in a house. This one has Bananas, CT, Jordan, and Derek all there. If we throw in Wes, we have kind of a real battle for who's the best on the men's side. And then if you could get Laurel in there on the women's side, that would have been a great thing as well. Romantically, this season, there isn't. Well, I'm going off memory for this, so I'm probably missing a whole bunch. There's always a bunch of random stuff. There's always a bunch of stuff we don't see, but main one, Corey is doing his best to hold himself back. He is starting to try to rein it in, but he's still prime time Corey here. He's flirting with Kayla. He's kissing Anissa after saying he was going to resist that. He's maybe comes back from the beach with Camilla at one point. There's a lot of stuff going on with Corey this season, and it's all fantastic for the most part. Tony and Camilla have their moment on the bus. He gets cornered by production in the confessional of we have footage, we're going to show it. Do you want to talk to us about it or not? That's a real big bummer. Hunter gets dumped by his non-cast member girlfriend over the Zoom phone, which is a huge, huge bummer. And otherwise, that's most of the romantic. Competitively, the format takes center stage of storylines for sure. The opening purge is a big deal. We had finally gotten, our first ever purges the seasons before, but never an opening one. I probably should have included that in Evolutions. But the opening purge takes a bunch of good players from us. Yes, they're still in the Redemption House, but they would eventually not leave until episode 4 or 5. But they were pretty much not there. Darrell, Shane, Devin, Amanda, big losses to lose those 4 right in the opening one. It's great for the theatrics and for the drama, and I get it, but it was a little bit of a bummer. And then the multiple Redemption House reentry mostly works in a decent way, and the switching of the formats, the doing individual dailies, doing the pairs, doing the teams, works probably better than it had ever before, until it gets a little convoluted at the end. And the fact that they get to vote people straight into redemption, you don't even have to lose an elimination, is a pretty tough moment for me as far as being against some of the more convoluted format changes. Didn't love that. Though, dailies and elims this season, really great job, as expected, as needed for any season. But again, the 30th one, it kind of matters a little bit more. Memorable dailies, the Battle Royale, which was aka like full cast hall brawl, essentially. Just all the men doing hall brawl at once, all the women doing hall brawl at once. Pretty wild. Blackout was my maybe least favorite daily in the history of the show, is when they had to scratch the black paint off of the glass or the wall or whatever it was. It was horrifying, absolutely horrifying. Nelson beating Hunter in Rampage, which is kind of like the new age backup off me. Really enjoyed that one. The first of a cup, or not the first of this season. They would be more later, of the Young Bucks having to go against each other in eliminations. Body check. Maybe the most dangerous hall brawl we've ever seen, hall brawl variant we've ever seen, which is Hunter and Leroy having to run through 2 breakable doors with each other on the other side, and then have to ring a bell and then run back and go through another door. Hunter fractures his hand. It is just super dangerous. It is super memorable, though. And then Derek beating Bananas in the Real World. Great name. One of the better endurance challenges we've ever seen, on top of the little hamster wheel. If you can stay on it long enough to spin it, better. But if you fall off, you got to run around and get back up on it. Derek beats him late in the game on that one. Quitting and leaving is a big theme this season. Ashley quits episode 1. She's got some family health stuff back home. She's literally just coming from filming Champs for Stars. It all makes sense in retrospect, but in the moment, we're like, really? Like, last season's champion is just out before the first daily challenge? This is a big bummer. Nelson DQs after verbal and slightly physical altercation with Derek that he tries to claim he didn't start. And then they're like, dude, we're filming all of this, right? And he's like, oh, yeah, I guess that happens. And he gets DQ'd. Shane and Simone get DQ'd from the Redemption House. We don't see any of it, but supposedly there was a slap. There was maybe Devin putting Shane in a headlock to calm things down. There was Simone waving a broken champagne bottle. Those are all rumors, maybe or maybe not true, but there was a big altercation that sent the 2 of them home. And then Ammo did not go to Redemption House, deciding to leave the game instead after their collapse during the elimination versus Jordan, which left Marie very famously alone in the Redemption House, just Marie and her wine. Fantastic moment there. Speaking of other memorable moments, then let's get to those and get to our winners. CT nearly missed this season. He had passport issues. He doesn't get to come into the country immediately. They actually had started to fly, or didn't start. They flew a backup alternate there, but then he was able to make it in. They brought him in after the initial purge, so he gets to miss out on the initial purge challenge and just walk in. But, you're CT. You get to do those things. We had the pretty famous Jemmy, doubled the name up here. Jemmy throwing in Jenna versus Kayla, one of the better uses of the double cross, more memorable uses of the double cross, to actually double cross someone and backstab one a little bit. Marie being in the Redemption House alone with their wine, we mentioned that. The burn vote on Leroy. Brittany burns the vote on Leroy. Veronica astutely looks around, picks up, oh, we could just flip this and this will be fun. I have no allegiances to any of these people. Does. Leroy goes in, goes home. Probably the most, the most famous burn vote in the history of the show, more or less. And then the 2 eventual winners of the season have 2 of the most memorable moments. So let's talk about them now. The bad first, which is obviously Camilla. Camilla has many, not, regular Camilla moments at this time on the show, but not great is the regular Camilla drunken moments. And in the worst that she had ever had, one of the worst we've seen in the history of the show, drunken tirade right at Leroy, of all people, who had done nothing, was just standing around, and she decides, I'm going to just get super upset and yell at Leroy. It includes tons of racial words, everything is just very racially motivated and really nasty and really gross and really racist and really horrible, and gets so bad after that she gets physical. She's throwing chairs, she's making threats. They have to remove her, take her to a hotel, And then they let her come back into the game, though. She's just gone for the night. She comes back, doesn't even apologize right away until Leroy confronts her over it, and she gives a very, very half-ass apology of sorts. The house doesn't necessarily defend him in the best way. Via confessional, some do, especially Jemmye is one that I do give Jemmye credit for. Stands up at least via confessional and seems to be a little, as much as anyone, kind of in the moment of, like, you know, trying to talk to Leroy and things like that. He did a wonderful video, I don't even know now, a couple years back at this point, not anywhere near the time of the show, but more recently, a long video about it and about afterwards and everything else about it. I definitely encourage you to seek that out. I think it's still available on his Instagram and elsewhere. But yeah, she gets to come back and she goes on to win the season, even though she bitches and complains her way through the entire final and through the entire season. And she doesn't show up for the reunion to claim her prize, which was a good thing and was the ultimate reminder of this person with all these others that got removed this season for different things. How did this person not get removed too? We'll never really get a firm answer on that. But on the other side, the other winner was the good, although it took a lot of bad to get to the good, and that was Jordan, who to start the final, one of the most memorable moments, they have to skydive into the final, and his instructor and him crash land. And he either breaks his leg or tears his knee or both, like severe injury to his leg. Shout out to Derek, who stops what he's doing and goes over and checks on him. Great guy there, Derek. And Jordan, thankfully for production's sake, gets up and says, I can do this. I can tough it out. Oh, the first challenge after I just did this, the first thing we have to do is run up and down this hill carrying boulders. No problem. I'll do it. He crushes the final on this severely injured leg. It's the most impressive performance in the history of the challenge. In my book, super injured leg, either broken or torn, something or other, or both, and he wins a final versus CT and Derek. Unreal, unbelievable, fantastic. He thankfully was there for the final, for the reunion to claim his check in person. It's a season with a lot of history, a really strong cast. There is a decent amount of good fun here, but obviously the Camilla of it all really brings things down a little bit, and the format feels so great that it's working, and then at the end kind of starts to falter a little bit. And just overall, it's a good season. It's a good season. It doesn't quite get to great, so we're going to stop short of the great tier. We're going to go with a grade of a B. Thanks for watching. Tune in tomorrow for Vendettas. And, of course, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the upcoming Battle of the Eras season recaps.